The moment I first laid eyes on Caleb at the gym, something inside me stirred. It was more than just the sweat and the heavy weights. It was a jolt of energy that shot through me like electricity. I hadn't felt anything like this in years. I had been going through the motions of my routine life with Ethan, but now, standing there, I felt alive again. "Hey, you're really pushing it today," Caleb said, his voice smooth and inviting as he approached me during my set. I looked up, slightly startled, and met his gaze. His eyes were bright, full of mischief and warmth. I could feel my heart race, a strange flutter that I quickly tried to ignore. "Just trying to keep up," I replied, forcing a smile as I wiped the sweat from my brow. As I trained under his watchful eye, I felt a mix of admiration and something deeper. Every workout became exhilarating, charged with an unspoken chemistry that crackled between us. Caleb was encouraging, pushing me to lift more, to run faster. But it was more than just his words. It was the way he looked at me, the way his smile made my heart skip a beat. There was a stark contrast between my life with Ethan and the vibrant presence of Caleb. My days were filled with the humdrum of chores, work, and routine conversations that rarely sparked joy. With Caleb, everything felt different. I started to feel guilty for the thoughts that crossed my mind. Was I really comparing my husband to a man I barely knew? Every time Caleb stepped into the gym, my heart would leap. I couldn't shake the question that loomed in my mind. Was I ready to risk everything for a taste of passion and excitement? I glanced at Ethan's picture on my phone, the smile frozen in time, and felt a pang of guilt. I had made a commitment to him, a promise, and yet here I was, daydreaming about someone else. "Ready for another round?" Caleb asked, snapping me out of my thoughts. "Yeah, let's do it," I said, trying to sound casual, but my voice betrayed me. I could hear the tremor of anticipation. As we moved through our session, every laugh we shared and every compliment he threw my way only deepened the connection I felt. I could see the admiration in his eyes, and it made me feel special in a way I hadn't in a long time. "Your form is getting so much better," he said, nodding approvingly as I finished another set. "You're a natural." "Thanks. I owe it all to you," I replied, my cheeks flushing slightly. But beneath the surface of this burgeoning friendship, a conflict brewed. The thrill of being near Caleb was intoxicating, yet the weight of my marriage loomed large in my mind. How could I want someone else when I had vowed to love Ethan? As I put away the weights, I caught a glimpse of Caleb stretching, his muscles taut and defined. My thoughts spiraled. Was I really that unhappy? Or was I just craving something more than what my life had become? The gym was my escape, but it was also the setting of an internal battle I never anticipated. I could feel my resolve weakening with every interaction. Caleb represented everything I felt I had lost: excitement, passion, and the thrill of the unknown. Suddenly, I found myself staring at him, lost in thought. What if I could have that spark again? What if I allowed myself to feel something more? "Hey, Earth to you," Caleb said, waving a hand in front of my face, pulling me back to reality. "Sorry, I was just thinking," I replied, forcing a laugh. "Thinking about how you can crush your next workout?" he teased, but I could see the curiosity in his gaze. "Something like that," I said, my heart racing. A part of me wanted to dive deeper into this connection, to explore where it might lead, while another part screamed to hold back, to remember my vows. The question lingered in the air. How far was I willing to go for a taste of something I hadn't felt in years? After that intense training session, my heart raced when Caleb invited me out for drinks. I felt a mix of excitement and fear. What would this mean for me? I took a deep breath, trying to calm the storm inside me. "Sure, that sounds great," I replied, trying to sound casual, even though my mind was racing with thoughts of Ethan. The bar was dimly lit, filled with laughter and chatter. As we settled into our seats, I could feel the charged atmosphere between us. "So, how long have you been training at the gym?" Caleb asked, leaning closer, his eyes sparkling with curiosity. "About a year now," I said, forcing a smile. "I never thought I would enjoy it this much." As I spoke, I noticed how genuine his smile was, how his laughter seemed to light up the room. I found myself laughing more than I had in a long time, forgetting the worries that clung to my mind. Caleb shared stories about his life, his passion for fitness, and his dreams. I listened intently, mesmerized by the way he spoke. "I want to open my own gym one day, help people find their strength," he said, his eyes shining with ambition. "That sounds amazing," I responded, feeling a warmth bloom inside me. "You would be great at it." As the night wore on, our conversation flowed effortlessly, and I felt an undeniable pull toward him. Then, it happened. Our hands brushed against each other as we reached for our drinks. The contact sent a shock through me, igniting a fire I thought had long gone out. I looked up, catching his gaze, and for a moment, the world around us faded. "Did you feel that?" he asked softly, his voice barely above a whisper. "Yeah," I admitted, my heart pounding. "I did." I could see the desire in his eyes, and I felt a mix of thrill and dread. We spent the rest of the evening sharing stories, laughing, and stealing glances that felt charged with something more. But in the back of my mind, Ethan's image lingered, a shadow that refused to leave. I pictured his smile, the way he always supported me, and I felt a pang of guilt. How could I betray him like this? As the night drew to a close, Caleb stood close to me, the air between us thick with tension. "I had a great time tonight," he said, his voice low and inviting. "We should do this again." "Definitely," I replied, my heart racing at the thought. But as I walked to my car, I couldn't shake the feeling of dread that settled in my stomach. I was crossing a line, and deep down, I knew it. Once I got home, the silence of the house felt heavy. Ethan was still away, and the emptiness wrapped around me like a blanket. I tried to focus on the good memories we had shared, but they felt dull compared to the spark I had felt with Caleb. I lay in bed, staring at the ceiling, replaying the evening in my mind. The laughter, the closeness, the thrill of something new. But then, the reality of my situation crashed down on me. I had made a commitment to Ethan. He loved me, and I loved him too, in a way that felt safe. But was that enough? The memory of Caleb's touch haunted me. I rolled over, burying my face in the pillow, desperate to escape the turmoil in my heart. "What am I doing?" I whispered to myself, feeling the weight of my choices pressing down on me. I couldn't help but wonder if I was ready to risk everything for a taste of passion and excitement. The answer felt just out of reach, lost in the whirlwind of emotions that swirled inside me. Would I let this new connection with Caleb go, or would I dive headfirst into the unknown? As I closed my eyes, I felt torn between two worlds, the comfortable life with Ethan and the thrilling possibility that Caleb represented. I knew I had to make a choice soon, but for now, all I could do was lie there, caught in the storm of my own making. The days turned into weeks, and my life began to spin out of control. What started as harmless flirting with Caleb had shifted into something much more intense. Each time I saw him, my heart raced, and my stomach fluttered with a mix of excitement and fear. We found ourselves in a whirlwind of secret meetings and stolen kisses, each one more thrilling than the last. One evening, as we sat on a park bench, our fingers intertwined, I turned to Caleb and said, "How did we get here? This feels so unreal." He smiled, his eyes sparkling in the fading light. "I don't know, but I can't get enough of it. Can you?" I hesitated, the weight of my marriage pressing down on me. I feel alive with you, Caleb. But I'm also scared. What if this all falls apart? Caleb squeezed my hand gently. Life is too short to play it safe all the time. We have something special. Don't you want to explore it? His words ignited a fire within me, one that I had long buried under layers of routine and obligation. But with that fire came a wave of guilt. I remembered Ethan, my husband, who had always been there for me. The thought of betraying him twisted my insides. As we continued to meet, I felt like I was living two lives. In the gym with Caleb, I was strong and free. But back at home with Ethan, I was the devoted wife, attending to his needs and pretending everything was fine. One afternoon, as I was preparing dinner, I caught a glimpse of Ethan's reflection in the kitchen window. He looked tired but happy, and my heart sank with guilt. That evening, Ethan came home with a smile, holding a bouquet of flowers. "Just because," he said, handing them to me. "I know you've been working hard. You deserve this." I forced a smile, my heart heavy. "Thank you, Ethan. They're beautiful." As he kissed me on the cheek, I felt a pang of remorse. I was betraying the very person who loved me unconditionally, but the thrill of being with Caleb was intoxicating. I couldn't help but crave more of our secret moments together. One night, Caleb and I met at a small cafe on the edge of town. As we shared a slice of chocolate cake, he leaned closer, his voice low. "What if we took a trip together? Just you and me. No one else to worry about." The idea sent a rush of adrenaline through me. "A trip? Where would we go?" "Anywhere. I just want to spend time with you, away from all this," he said, gesturing around the cafe. "We could go to the beach or the mountains. Just think about it." I felt torn. The allure of a getaway with Caleb was tempting, but the thought of leaving my life behind, even for a few days, filled me with dread. I don't know if I can do that. What if someone sees us? Caleb leaned back, studying my face. "You need to stop worrying about what others think. This is your life, your happiness. Don't you want to chase after it?" His words echoed in my mind long after we parted that night. I found myself lying awake, questioning who I really was. The woman who was committed to her husband, or the woman who craved freedom and passion? The more time I spent with Caleb, the more I began to unravel. I laughed harder, smiled more, and felt alive in ways I hadn't in years. But with every kiss we shared, guilt wrapped its icy fingers around my heart. I wanted to embrace this new part of myself, but I also feared losing the stability I had built with Ethan. One evening, as I prepared for yet another clandestine meeting with Caleb, I caught my reflection in the mirror. I looked different, happier, yet more conflicted. I brushed my hair, trying to calm the storm inside me. "What are you doing?" I whispered to myself. "Is this worth it?" As I left the house, my heart raced with excitement and dread. I was on the brink of something I didn't fully understand, and I had to decide how far I was willing to go for this intoxicating new love. Would I sacrifice everything for a taste of passion? Or would I cling to the life I had built with Ethan, even if it felt like a cage? The night had come, and it felt like the weight of the world rested on my shoulders. I stood in front of my closet, staring at the elegant dress I had picked out for Ethan's important work event. My fingers brushed over the fabric, but all I could think about was Caleb. Am I really doing this? I whispered to myself, the reflection in the mirror revealing a woman torn between two worlds. I could hear my phone buzz from the other room. It was a message from Caleb. "Can't wait to see you tonight. Just one more adventure together." My heart raced at the thought of him. The thrill of the unknown felt intoxicating, yet guilt gnawed at my insides like a hungry beast. I took a deep breath and replied, I might be late. Just want to make sure Ethan is settled. The truth was, I didn't want to go to that event. I wanted to run to Caleb and forget everything else. But the commitment I had made to Ethan hung over me like a dark cloud. As I slipped into the dress, I caught a glimpse of my wedding ring. The weight of it felt heavier than ever as I remembered the vows I had taken. In sickness and in health, for better or for worse, I whispered, my voice trembling. I couldn't help but think of how those words felt like chains, binding me to a life that now felt so dull. I glanced at the clock. I had time. Time to decide if I would go to the event or if I would chase the thrill that Caleb promised. My phone buzzed again. Another message from him. Just waiting for you at our spot. It's going to be amazing. I felt a surge of excitement mixed with panic. What am I doing? I asked aloud, my voice echoing in the empty room. I knew I was standing at a crossroads, but the path to Caleb was so tempting. With shaky hands, I grabbed my purse and headed for the door. Just as I was about to leave, Ethan walked in, looking sharp in his suit. "Hey, you look beautiful," he said, his eyes lighting up as he took in my appearance. "Thanks," I replied, forcing a smile. "I hope you have a great night." Ethan didn't notice the tension in my voice. "We're going to have a great time." "I really need this to impress my boss," he said, adjusting his tie. I felt a pang of guilt as I thought about how oblivious he was to the storm brewing inside me. "Yeah, of course. You'll do great," I managed to say, even though my heart was screaming for me to run away. As he turned to grab his things, I felt the familiar pull to Caleb. I texted him one last time. "I can't make it tonight. I hope you understand." The response came almost instantly. "You're making a mistake. We could have something incredible." I closed my eyes, fighting back tears. "What am I doing?" I whispered again, this time to myself. "Are you ready?" Ethan called from the other room, breaking my moment of weakness. I took a deep breath and stepped out of my internal conflict. "Yes, coming," I replied. As we walked out of the house together, I felt my heart heavy with a mix of emotions. I had chosen the path of safety, yet a part of me was still longing for Caleb. The excitement, the thrill, the passion. It all felt so real, so close. "Let's have fun tonight," Ethan said as we climbed into the car. I nodded, but inside, I felt like I was betraying not just Caleb, but myself. The choice I made was a safe one, but at what cost? As we drove away, I couldn't shake the feeling of missing out on something extraordinary. The night stretched before us, filled with laughter and conversation. But in the back of my mind, I knew that I was still standing at that crossroads, and the path I chose would change everything. The days following my night with Caleb were a blur. I felt like I was walking on a tightrope, balancing between two worlds. Each morning, I would wake up next to Ethan, his soft breathing a reminder of the life I was supposed to cherish. But as soon as my eyes opened, my mind drifted to Caleb and the thrill of our stolen moments. Ethan returned from his trip, and everything felt off. He was excited to see me, pulling me into a warm embrace. "I missed you, babe. Did you keep busy while I was away?" His smile was genuine, and it twisted my heart with guilt. "Yeah, just the usual," I replied, forcing a smile. Inside, I felt like a fraud. How could I look him in the eyes, knowing that I had shared intimate moments with another man? As the days went on, the guilt grew heavier. I tried to maintain the facade of a happy marriage, but my heart was torn. Every time Ethan touched me, I felt a wave of shame wash over me. I would smile and laugh, but my thoughts always drifted back to Caleb. One evening, as we sat on the couch watching a movie, Ethan turned to me. "You seem a bit distant lately. Is everything okay?" His brow furrowed with concern. "Yeah, I'm fine. Just a bit tired," I lied, looking away. I could feel the ache in my chest growing stronger. That night, after Ethan went to bed, I found myself staring at the ceiling, wide awake. I thought about Caleb and the moments we had shared, the laughter, the kisses, the way he looked at me like I was the only person in the world. I had never felt that way before, and it scared me. But what scared me even more was the thought of losing Ethan. The next day, I met Caleb for lunch. As I walked into the cafe, my heart raced. I knew I was crossing a line, but the pull towards him was undeniable. When I saw him sitting at a table, his smile lit up the room. He looked so carefree, so alive. "Hey there," he said, standing to pull me into a warm embrace. The moment our bodies touched, a spark ignited inside me. "Hi," I replied, trying to keep my voice steady. "I've missed you." Caleb's eyes twinkled with mischief. "I've missed you too. I've been thinking about our last night together." I felt my cheeks flush as I remembered every detail of that evening. "Me too," I admitted, biting my lip. As we talked, the world around us faded away. It was just Caleb and me, lost in our own little bubble. But deep down, I knew this was not sustainable. I was living a lie, and every moment with Caleb was another moment I was betraying Ethan. "Are you okay?" Caleb asked suddenly, breaking my thoughts. "You seem a bit off." I hesitated, wondering if I could share the burden I carried. I feel guilty about Ethan. He loves me, and I keep lying to him." Caleb's expression shifted, a shadow of concern crossing his face. "You deserve to be happy. You know that, right? But I don't want to be the reason you hurt him." I looked into his eyes, searching for answers. What do? I can't keep living like this. Caleb reached across the table, taking my hand in his. "You need to be honest with yourself. If you want a life with me, you have to make a choice." His words hit me like a punch. I had been avoiding the inevitable, but there it was, plain and simple. I had to confront my feelings and the reality of my situation. As I left the cafe that day, I felt a storm brewing inside me. I was at a crossroads. I couldn't continue living this double life, caught between two loves. I needed to face the truth, no matter how painful it would be. The question lingered in my mind. Could I continue to maintain this facade? Or was it time to confront the reality of my choices? As I walked home, I knew that I would have to find the courage to face Ethan and the truth I had been hiding. The reckoning was coming, and I wasn't sure how I would handle it. As I stood there, my heart pounding in my chest, I felt the weight of my choices pressing down on me. The room was silent, but my mind was a whirlwind of thoughts. I could almost hear Caleb's voice, full of warmth and encouragement, and Ethan's laughter echoing in my memory. It was as if they were both standing there, waiting for me to decide. "How did I get here?" I whispered to myself, my voice barely breaking the silence. I took a deep breath, trying to clear my head. I could see the life I had built with Ethan, the cozy home, the shared dreams, and the love we once had. Yet, every time I thought of Caleb, a rush of excitement coursed through me, reminding me of the passion I had been missing. My phone buzzed, jolting me from my thoughts. It was a message from Caleb. "Can we talk? I need to see you." My heart raced at the thought of him wanting to meet. I could feel our connection pulling me closer, like a magnet that would not let go. But then, the image of Ethan came to mind, his warm smile, and the way he looked at me with love. I closed my eyes, trying to find clarity. I had to make a choice. Would I keep living this lie, pretending everything was fine with Ethan while my heart was elsewhere? Or would I embrace the unknown with Caleb, risking everything for a chance at true happiness? In that moment, I could almost hear my own voice again, clearer this time. What do you really want? I asked myself. The question echoed in my mind, demanding an answer. I wanted to feel alive, to experience the thrill of loving someone without fear. But was it worth losing the security I had with Ethan? As I paced the room, memories flooded back. I remembered the first time Caleb had smiled at me, the sparks that flew when our hands brushed. I recalled the laughter we shared over drinks, the way he made me feel like I was the only person in the world. But then, I thought of Ethan's support, his kindness, and the life we had built together. Suddenly, my phone rang. It was Ethan. I hesitated for a moment before answering. "Hey, are you okay?" he asked, concern lacing his voice. "I'm fine," I replied, forcing a smile I knew he couldn't see. "Just thinking about some things." "What kind of things?" he pressed, his voice gentle. "Just life," I said, trying to keep it vague. "You know, work and everything." He paused for a moment. "Is there something you want to talk about? I'm here for you." His words struck a chord in me. I felt a pang of guilt wash over me. This was the man who had always been there for me. And here I was, torn between him and another man. "I appreciate that, Ethan. I really do," I said, my voice trembling slightly. "I just need some time to think." "Okay, take your time. Just know that I love you," he said, and my heart sank. "I love you too," I replied, but the words felt heavy on my tongue. I hung up and sank onto the couch, my mind racing. What did love mean anymore? Was it the comfortable routine with Ethan, or the exhilarating moments with Caleb? I could feel a tear escape and roll down my cheek. I was so tired of hiding, so tired of pretending everything was okay when I felt so lost. I took a deep breath and picked up my phone again, staring at Caleb's message. I knew I had to face him soon, but the thought of that meeting filled me with both excitement and dread. I could feel my heart racing as I typed back, "Can we meet?" As I pressed send, I realized I was stepping closer to the edge. I was about to dive into the unknown, to embrace the chaos of my emotions. I had to confront my feelings and decide who I wanted to be. In that moment, I finally acknowledged the truth. I was ready to face my fears, to discover what true happiness meant for me, no matter what the cost. The leap was terrifying, but I knew I had to take it. My heart whispered that I could no longer live in the shadows of my choices. I was ready to find my truth. Share this story if you believe that love can conquer even the toughest challenges. Leave a comment about a time when an unexpected visit changed your life, and subscribe to the channel for more exciting stories like this one.